We're back, baby. Welcome, everybody, to Laying the Points with FarleyBets. It has been way too long since I've done this podcast. It is so awesome to be back with all of you once again. Took a little hiatus, those nice little summer break. Just betting baseball, get away from a few things, relax, go on vacation, prepping for the NFL season. And wouldn't you know it, the NFL season is upon us. It's preseason games tonight. It's Thursday, August 12th. And we are just, 4 weeks away from the NFL season officially starting. To say that I'm amped would be a grand understatement. I cannot wait to get this season started. I know I've had a lot of success in the NBA, 58%, over 350 picks, blah, blah, blah. And lately I've had a lot of success in Major League Baseball. If you're following my picks at the Oddsbreakers, I'm 11-2 the past week. A certain Nick Hubb, also at the Oddsbreakers, is killing it as well. His records are impeccable the past few weeks. So the Oddsbreakers is killing it in baseball, and it's time for football. You ready for some football? Some football. Football is around the corner. I'll be putting out preseason bets. I'm going to talk about some preseason bets in this podcast. And for the next, I don't know, how many weeks is the NFL season? Like 26 or something, 28? For the conceivable future, I will be putting out a podcast every Thursday before the weekend to go over that week's games. And I'm going to be joined by my buddy and sharp NFL handicapper, Steve Norman. We have both entered the Circa Million contest. This is my first year. As a truck blows by, there's a jackhammer out my one window, but we move on anyway. We keep on recording. This is live, people, live in Baltimore. My buddy Steve Norman is going to be joining me, and he is as sharp as it gets when it comes to NFL handicapping. Also happens to be my best friend, and like I said, we have entered the Circa Million together. So I think it's going to make a great podcast throughout the year to go through the picks that we like most. You can listen in, take in our analysis, and that is how we will process what picks we're going to make that week for the Circa Million. If you don't know about the Super Contest or the Circa Million or all the contests that are out there in Vegas, look into that. There's a lot of great contests out there. Shout out to Maddie at Football Contest on Twitter, footballcontest.com. for serving as our proxy this NFL season. Historically, the NFL has been my most lucrative sport to bet and to handicap. Hard to prove that. I had a good record in the playoffs last year when I started writing for the Oddsbreakers, but I didn't start writing for the Oddsbreakers or have a presence. I didn't have a presence on Twitter until 2021, really. I guess late in 2020, but really came onto the scene as a writer and a podcaster recently. So I'm excited. I'm eager to prove my worth in the NFL as well, and for all of you to join me on that journey as Steve and I talk about our Circa Million picks every week. I put out articles, put out podcasts. We, of course, have the premium picks are the best picks that we want to release to everybody every week. Still doing that for baseball, and of course going to be doing that all football season. You should follow all of us at the Oddsbreakers. There's just a ton of winners all the time. It's free money, really, because they're free picks. Although, in case you're wondering, premium picks are on fire as well. 7-3 this week. I was 3-0 last night with 2 pushes. The Brewers and the Cubs, total under 10, hit 10. And the Phillies and Dodgers, first 5, under 5, hit 5. So those are pushes, but 3-0 otherwise. Premium picks on fire, MLB picks on fire, NFL picks will be on fire, and I'll be putting out a preseason article here today as well. So, without further ado, what's going to happen on today's podcast? So for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to break down 2 divisions in the NFL every week before the actual season starts. This week is going to be the AFC West and the NFC West, which are 2 jam-packed divisions of talent. Arguably, actually, it's not even arguable. These are absolutely 2 of the best divisions in football. And I'm fascinated by what's going to happen this year in both of those divisions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. First, I'm going to talk about the hot takes that I hate and the hot takes that I love. Then we'll get to the AFC West and the NFC West, as well as some preseason Week 1 NFL bets that I really love this weekend, including a premium bet or two in there, just as a thank you for listening to this podcast. So let's rock and roll and talk some NFL. All right, people, time to talk about some hot takes coming into this 2021-2022 NFL season. And before we dive headfirst into those hot takes, may I just say a little something. You know, we live in the age of hot takes, right? Everything is reactionary. Everything is impulsive. So you have ESPN out there with the big talkers and Fox Sports and everyone proclaiming all this, prophetic knowledge about what's going to happen in this year's football season. And you just have to be really, really careful with that. I think one of the things that works best about my style of handicapping is I enter into every season in every sport with a sort of naivete. I don't assume that I know too much about what's going to happen. I think that's really, really important. I've heard some handicappers talk on podcasts, and that they have the same approach. Very successful handicappers, and it's really easy to get caught up in the analytics and what happened the previous year. Of course, there's a lot of data out there. I did something that I haven't done before, which I was very excited about. Is I bought Warren Sharp's NFL preview package. I think it was like $45, $50 maybe. I got like an early bird special. You absolutely, if you're going to be a serious handicapper, you have to do some sort of preparation for the NFL season. The data that's out there, the advanced analytics, we're talking about like success rates on third down with like one running back behind the quarterback or like three wide receivers in the field, just like the most incremental, detailed analytics about everything in football. And Warren Sharp, who's not paying me to say this, does a fantastic job previewing the NFL season. I mean, I feel like I really have a great handle because of, reading through his prep alone. But you have to do your own prep in some way. All right, a lot of handicappers do their own power ratings, right? So they have their own power rating system, and that's how they handicap games and how they gain an edge and find value. Personally, I don't do power ratings. I create narratives. I did the same thing in the NBA. I create narratives for every single team, so it's more verbiage than it is numbers. Because the reality is you can rely on other people's research. I mean, so many people are doing fantastic research out there, analytically, right, with data, that you can purchase it for not that much. You can find a lot of it for free here at the Odds Breakers. I know Kiev, when he does his podcast, and the guys that he has on the podcast, and the writers that contribute to the site are just constantly giving unbelievable information. So you can rely on a lot of people for data, for research, but then you need to, sort of make it into your own. So it's really important to do research. It's really important also to stay away from really, really hot takes, okay? Because every NFL season, there's going to be an abundance of surprises, things that we don't see coming, players that are going to shine, players are going to, drop off, are not going to perform like they usually do. And your talking heads on ESPN or wherever in the media world, they don't hold any accountability and any responsibility for the flaws that they have entering the season. They're usually profoundly wrong about things that they say, but they never go back. They're never like, oh man, when I said that shit in September, that was really dumb. They don't have to do that. They're like, weather forecasters. They can be completely wrong, and people just keep on watching. People just keep on listening because it's ESPN, right? And I'm not trying to shit on ESPN. There's some good information that comes out of ESPN. There's some great things on ESPN. But it's the world of talking heads. So you just have to be really careful when you're approaching the NFL season about what you're believing, what you're subscribing to. Do your own research, prepare soundly, and make it into your own so that when you approach the NFL season, the picks that you put out, you can own and you can say, this is truly what I side with. These are the value plays that I feel are going to win. Are going to win me money. Are going to win my clients money if you're a handicapper trying to sell picks. Okay. So some hot takes that I love and some hot takes that I hate. So, Oh boy. Big Ben and the Steelers are going to be in third place or worse in the AFC North. They're not the same Steelers. Forget about it. Can't say that I agree with that hot take. Why? Because every single year the Steelers find a way. They have one of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL, and Mike Tomlin. It's a stable organization, stable front management. They don't just release people and let them go and let them fly off. They're consistently good on defense. They're consistently really difficult to beat at home. I'm not going to buy into, how much weight did Big Ben lose? Is Big Ben in great shape? He's getting too old. Sure, all those things are true. He's not in great shape. He's getting older. But Big Ben, as we've seen in every NFL season that he's ever played, always finds a way. He finds a way to win. He finds a way to stand in the pocket and take hits and still get the ball out. So, the Steelers are still going to have a top 5 defense. That's glaringly, that's not a hot take, right? That's just objectively they have so much talent that it would be tough for them to not have a top 5 or at least a top 10 defense. Their defense is going to keep them in games, and they have a ton of weapons on offense. A ton of weapons. So, these hot takes, look, they play in a really tough division in the AFC North. I get that. The Ravens, the Browns are loaded. The Browns have so much talent, it's ridiculous. If they had a great quarterback, which I'll talk about at some point, I think the Browns would be a Super Bowl contender every year. And the Ravens are great every year as well. But at Pittsburgh, Big Ben, stability, defense, take advantage of those ATS lines that are undervaluing the Steelers early in the season, because the Steelers are going to be in a lot of games. I think the Bills are favored by 7 now in Week 1. I'm looking at the Steelers in that one. Another hot take. The Colts are not going to have a successful year because Carson Wentz is already injured. Who knows how long he'll be injured, etc. False. I don't buy that. The win total for the Colts at 10, I still like the over. Whether Carson Wentz starts Week 1 or not, and actually, a report recently came out saying that he's looking good, which is great news for the Colts. Whether Wentz starts or not, the Colts have one of the best, deepest rosters in the NFL. That's still true. Quarterback is the most important position, absolutely. But the Colts are going to hang in there. They're in one of the worst divisions in football. The Titans are going to compete with them. The other 2 teams are not. And like I said, I still like the over on the Colts win total. I would be wary to buy into any hot takes, pushing the Colts off a cliff too soon. The marriage of Frank Reich and Carson Wentz worked really well in the past, as we know, with the Eagles. Wentz is going to be comfy in the Midwest, lower market team, a smaller market team, I should say. I'm not saying Wentz is going to be back to his 2018. I don't know if he's going to shred it every single game, but this is a great setup for Wentz once he's healthy. As long as he can stay healthy, the Colts are going to be a big time contender. Another hot take: the Vikings are one of the most hyped teams in the NFL this year. They had a great offseason. Completely agree with that. Super Bowl contender, the Vikings. Watch out. NFC North winner. Careful. They still have Kirk Cousins. Okay, Kirk Cousins will start Week 1, obviously, against the Bengals. I like him in that game. I like him in games that aren't nationally televised, where he can just, he can kill teams in a small market. But Kirk Cousins has yet to prove, except for that 1 year where, you like that. Sure. But Kirk has yet to prove that in the big games and the bright lights that he can do it. And in the end, these games come down to the quarterback always. That's why the Seahawks were able to win so many close games last year, solely because of Russell Wilson just moving the ball up and down the field at the end of games. Kirk Cousins cannot consistently do that. You know who can? Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know what kind of attitude Rodgers is going to have this year. He's like up and down. He's pissed. Now he's content. I don't know. But if Aaron Rodgers is a semblance of what he was last year, I still have to side with the Packers winning the NFC North. Let's maybe take advantage of it ATS in those small market games and those non-televised games that the Vikings are in. But let's slow down about Kirk Cousins and the Vikings as a true Super Bowl contender just yet. The Washington football team will win the NFC East. Whoa! Well, first of all, that's a dagger to my heart because I'm a Giants fan. But you got to push that stuff aside when you're betting. You can't think about that. I actually do agree that I think the football team, still a terrible name if they're going to keep that name. That's fucking horrible. But anyway, the football team has a great chance to win the NFC East. They have an all-world defense. I love their defense. I love their defensive line, their front seven. It's got to be top 3 in the NFL, maybe the best. And Fitzpatrick is absolutely going to open up some lanes, going to open up deep ball opportunities for the football team. But I don't know why we tend to forget this, but Fitzpatrick has never been a consistently great quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He's fun to watch. Has a great beard, great hair. Smart guy. People like him. He's inconsistent. He's more like John Lester in baseball. Aging, can perform really well sometimes, and then throws up stinkers, right? Throws a ton of interceptions. So Fitzpatrick is going to be an upgrade for sure. Would not rely on Heineke, football team fans, because of one game last year. He's, probably still not the pedigree to be an NFL quarterback. We'll see. But, the Cowboys are going to be able to put up points this year. I hate to say it. It's not just because I'm watching Hard Knocks, although that's a great production. But the Cowboys were putting up absurd numbers on offense last year with Dak. There's no reason to believe they won't do that again. The Washington offense is going to have to really improve to stay with the Cowboys offense and with a lot of the great offenses in the NFL. Their defense is going to keep them in games. Are they going to win the NFC East? It's probably a good futures bet, but I wouldn't crown them just yet. And I'm not going to stick the Giants in there. I don't want to jinx them, and I think the Giants have so many holes. But the Washington football team is absolutely not a surefire thing or a surefire bet to win the NFC East. Okay, one hot take that I really like, the Rams. Everyone's talking about the Rams and how they're a Super Bowl contender. And you know what? I think they're right. Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I think we can all say that without any refrain. He schemes extremely well. He's a player's coach. Players like him. Players fight hard for him. And for years, Sean McVay was dealing with the limited arm of Jared Goff. Now he gets the big arm, the accurate arm, the long ball arm of Matthew Stafford. If you look deeply into the statistics over the years for the Rams, they do not score through the air outside the 20-yard line. Those stats, those numbers have gone way down. They don't score on long balls, period, because of Jared Goff's long ball accuracy. Stafford is going to stretch the field and create an entirely new offense for the Rams in a lot of different ways. Teams are not going to know what to expect, which is a huge advantage for Sean McVay. He's a big schemer. He's a short passing game guy. He's a play action guy. Likes to get the offense moving down the field, but that it's not going to look the same with Stafford behind center. And that defense kept the Rams in every game last year. It's an unbelievable defense. So do I believe with an unbelievable coach, a great quarterback? I do believe Stafford is great. He has yet to prove that he can win the big games. But I think he's a great quarterback that's been playing for a shitty team. So I believe the hype with the Rams. I think they should be favored. Or I don't know about favored, but they should be considered as a contender for the Super Bowl. The only problem with that, as I'll talk about later, is in the NFC West, they have to deal with the 49ers, who I think could be an even better Super Bowl contender than the Rams. And finally, another hot take that I actually love is you better believe that Bill Belichick and the Patriots are going to be better this year. Now, I don't know what the record is going to be at the end of it, but I do think that they'll be more contentious in the AFC East. The Bills aren't going to just ride into the sunset, nor are the Dolphins. This should be common knowledge by now, but the Patriots had so many players on defense that opted out last year. And they still had a good defense, really good defense in some games. I think their defense is going to be back to being really great. And Cam Newton wasn't given the proper time that a new quarterback needs in a new system because of COVID. And I'm not a big Cam Newton guy, but he's better than what we saw last year. And I just expect that Bill Belichick will scheme better, plan better for him. Don't know what Mac Jones is going to do. Don't really care. I don't think he's going to get a lot of starts this year. They're going to keep him under the system. Although, we'll see. We'll see how he does in preseason. Who knows? But Bill Belichick is also human. He has to be a little fired up seeing Tom Brady get that Super Bowl victory. People are going to read into that a lot, but he's human. And it's true. And he'll never admit it. But he doesn't want another year like last year. So I think the AFC East is going to be a lot more competitive and contentious than people think. The Bills, I love the Bills. I love watching Josh Allen. I love seeing them succeed. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be an easy road for the Bills, for the Dolphins. AFC East teams are only getting better. I mean, even the Jets, possibly. We'll see. I like Robert Saleh a lot. Players fight for him. Players play hard for him. So even the Jets might improve. So the Patriots, though, are absolutely going to be more on the map this year. I align with that hot take. All right, let's break down the AFC West and the NFC West. And this is obviously going to go a little bit over 30 minutes. I try to stick to that amount in every podcast, but I'm excited, okay? I'm really excited about the NFL season, and I can't hold back. I can't hold back. But here we go. Okay, let's get to it so we can try to be efficient here for all of you in your busy lives. Let's start with the NFC West. And let's start with the Rams. So Rams, first of all, the NFC West is such an interesting division. To me, this is the most intriguing division to watch this year. Absolutely stacked. Conceivably, the Cardinals will probably finish in fourth place, and they're a talented team, right? There's a lot to like about the Cardinals going into this year, but you have Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, and you got the 49ers, and you got the Rams, just stacked. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all pans out. But let's start with the Los Angeles Rams. So as we all know by now, probably, right, Goff progressively regressed every single year as a starter for Sean McVay, and Sean McVay was at his tipping point. So Goff traded to the Lions, and Stafford comes to the Rams, and I think that's really going to open things up. Just a little deeper look into the stats, you'll see the passing statistics were way down from 2018 to 2020, and that includes early down passing efficiency, points. Goff is one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure, whereas Stafford is top 5 as far as efficiency when he's under pressure. And the Rams offense really underwhelmed last year. They scored less than their projected point total in 11 of 16 games last year, which is tied for worst in the NFL. And over the last 2 years, the Rams scored fewer than the projected point totals in 19 of their 32 regular season games, which is fourth worst in the NFL. They still have Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp. The second-round pick Tutu Atwell now on the team this year. He's only 155 pounds, a little guy, but could be electric. I'm sure Sean McVay will find a way to incorporate him into their offensive schemes. And, of course, they also signed Deshaun Jackson, which I don't know if he's he's absolutely past his prime. And I don't know if he can burn it like he used to, but Deshaun Jackson and that deep threat ability, scary. If he's anything like he was when he was playing for the football team or for the Eagles, that's scary to have him as a third or fourth wide receiver. Whew. But over the past 2 seasons, the Rams were dead last in NFL in passing touchdowns on throws over 15 yards downfield with just 4. So scoring through the air outside of the red zone has just been a struggle for the Rams. And Sean McVay, clearly sick of it, brings in Stafford, and now they have a deep threat. Right now they can stretch the field a little more. Stafford with one of the bigger arms in the NFL. And I really think this pairing of McVay and Stafford is a good one. McVay loves play action. Stafford succeeds in play action. And like I said before, defenses are not going to know what to expect from this offense. It could be a scheme like we've seen from McVay seasons ago where he was really successful and went to the Super Bowl. It'll be interesting to see how their defense fares this year. Really their defense was the thing for those 10 wins last year, but they lost Brandon Staley, their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, their linebackers coach, safety John Johnson, which is the PFF number 3 safety in the NFL. Troy Hill, cornerback, top 20 cornerback in the NFL, lost him. But they brought in defensive tackle Bobby Brown III. Had the fifth best rush rate among interior linemen in the SEC, but otherwise a pretty shallow draft. I think the Rams defense will still fare well, but hopefully their offense can pick up some of the, if their defense can't provide the same just unbelievably consistent results like in previous years, maybe that offense can hold them up. The Rams are favored in 13 games this year. That's a lot. 13 out of 17. And according to Warren Sharp's analysis, they're the only team to rank in the top 11 in every position category. The Rams should be treated as a Super Bowl contender and as one of the top teams in the NFC West and in the NFC for certain. But now here come the 49ers. And here comes Trey Lance, who apparently is blowing up training camp, looking fantastic. Can't wait to see him in a preseason game. Then, of course, they have Jimmy G, still there, still won a ton with the 49ers. Look at Shanahan's record with Jimmy G at the helm. Very, very good. Look at his record with other quarterbacks. Not good at all. So if Trey Lance starts this year, or even if it's Jimmy G, you gotta believe, especially with all the injuries that they had last year, everybody returning this year. I mean, Raheem Mostert, Deebo Samuel, Kittle was injured throughout parts of last year. Obviously, Jimmy G got injured at the beginning of the year. Ton of injuries on defense as well. I mean, Nick Bosa, D Ford missed 14 games. Richard Sherman missed 11. I don't know if he's going to be around this year. But a lot of players coming back this year. And you know what? Whether he starts Jimmy G or Trey Lance, by the way, Jimmy G under Shanahan, or Shanahan with Jimmy G at the helm, 24-9. 73%, 18-14-1 against the spread, and they averaged 28.2 points per game. Without Jimmy G, 7-27 is 21% win rate, and 14-20 ATS, only averaging 20 points per game. So whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, because I do think that Trey Lance gives the 49ers, obviously, options that Jimmy G can't. He checks off a lot of boxes. It's still hype at this point. But personally, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, if he is what people say he is, then the hype is real. Because he fits the new form of quarterback, right? Big, athletic, he can run, cannon arm. That gives the offense so many options, and that gives Kyle Shanahan a tremendous amount of options. He's already probably the most creative offensive coach in the game. Most people agree with that. So with a quarterback like Trey Lance, who can conceivably do it all, we have yet to see that. But if that's true, this is going to be a scary team. Especially true because based on the current win totals from last year, the 49ers had the easiest schedule in the NFL. And it's particularly easy for their offense. They face one of the easiest defensive schedules in the NFL. In other words, the defenses that they face are not great. So this is going to be an interesting year. Right, the 49ers and the Rams always go at it. Shanahan kind of owns McVay. But, I mean, the 49ers, they are set up, as long as they can stay healthy, to win this division this year. I think this could be the start. Hold the phone, right? Hot take, coming in hot. But the 49ers could be the start of a legacy dynasty. I don't know. All the tools are there as long as they can stay healthy on defense. And huge if, right? But if Trey Lance is like a Russell Wilson, let's say, or like a Patrick Mahomes version or Aaron Rodgers version, look out. Because Jimmy G is good, but he's not Russell Wilson, right? He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not even Josh Allen. But whoa. If Trey Lance is something, this could be scary. San Francisco added offensive guard Aaron Banks, a good addition for their O-line. Trey Sermon in the open field, from Ohio State, very dangerous in the open field. And you got to believe Shanahan is going to craft plays for that. And obviously Fred Warner still there, key to that defense. He needs to stay healthy because no other linebacker in the NFL can do what he does on coverage. But again, 49ers stay healthy, watch out. And then you got the Seattle Seahawks, who every single year, right, the pundits, the talking heads, even myself, sometimes we're like, oh, it's going to be a down year for the Seahawks. Seahawks are not going to be able to compete in this jam-packed NFC West. And then what happens? Russell Wilson does what Russell Wilson does. I've been singing his praises for as long as I can remember. There's a moment where I thought Russell Wilson could go to the Giants, and I was like losing my mind. I would have loved that. But anyway, Russell Wilson does what few quarterbacks in the history of the NFL can do. I think he's one of the best of all time. And I don't think he's being used appropriately. Pete Carroll is too married to the run game. He's always been that way. I think the Seahawks started like 5-0 last year, 4-0 or 5-0, and then they blew that game to the Cardinals and changed a lot of the things that were working for them, much to everybody's shock and chagrin. But it is what it is, and there's no. I don't know if they're going to change that scheme. I don't know if they're going to run less. This is a passing league. It's more efficient to pass more often, especially with a quarterback like Russell Wilson. But he is the single reason why the Seahawks won so many games last year, 12-4, unbelievable. I mean, of course, it takes a team effort, but the Seahawks were 8-3 in one-score games last season. That's 62% plus for 2 straight years. That, my friends, is the Russ effect. Okay, it's the end of games. It's him controlling the game. It's them letting him let loose, and just, I mean, this isn't rocket science. I mean, with DK Metcalf and some of the weapons that he has, now they have Gerald Everett. Put the ball in this guy's hands. But anyway, the Seahawks still have major questions along their offensive line, which ranked 30th last season in adjusted sack rate. Yikes. The biggest addition in the offseason was acquiring guard Gabe Jackson from the Raiders. But Jackson has seen his pass blocking grade decline in every single season since his 2014 rookie year. I'm not sure how great of an acquisition that is. They also drafted Stone Forsyth, I believe is how you say his name. He's a little bit of a liability in the run game historically, but could provide better pass protection. Now, the Seattle defense played much better down the stretch after starting off so poorly. Ended up ranking as the 9th best pass defense after Week 9. But are they still going to have problems against great offenses? I think so. Probably. I mean, the Bills carved them up last year. They did add Quandre Diggs and Nikhila Witherspoon. Diggs is a safety. Drafted Trey Brown, cornerback, very athletic, but underwhelming overall as far as his production goes. The interesting part is that the Seahawks are going to face some of the toughest defenses in the NFL this year. Their schedule does not let them off the hook offensively. In my opinion, this is probably going to be another year where Russell Wilson holds the team on his shoulders, where they don't pass the ball enough. I don't see any. There's no evidence to suggest otherwise. Their defense is going to be okay, but it's been progressively less and less effective as the years have gone on. So unless somebody breaks out, unless they have just big-time contributions on offense and they let Russ pass the ball more, or unless their defense overperforms, I think it's 3rd place for the Seahawks this year. But again, a lot of us have said that, and what happens? Russ stuns us all, and the Seahawks end up going, 13-4 this year or 14-3. I mean, I wouldn't be totally shocked. Finally, the Cardinals. I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Cliff Kingsbury, not a huge fan. I am a fan of Kyler Murray. I think he has a ton of talent. I mean, you watch his little legs move out there in the field, and that man has a different type of speed, right? A different type of quickness. I do believe he can make every throw. The problem is, obviously, hard for him to see over that offensive line sometimes, interrupts his vision. But hard to not like DeAndre Hopkins, hard to not like the potential of that offense. Just don't believe that Kingsbury is a great schemer. And I actually don't think that J.J. Watt is going to thrive all that much in the Cardinals. I think he's just been injured too much. He's on the tail end of his career. And I think, the Cardinals are going to be feisty. They're going to surprise us throughout the year. But I'm not going to, this is a team that I'd like to sit back and watch more. I'm not going to try to sound bullish on any one position on them. But that being said, I would be shocked if they were even in 2nd place in the NFC West. I mean, this division is so talented. The coaching is so fantastic. I mean, Pete Carroll is the 3rd best coach in this division. It's really a shame that the Cardinals, if the Cardinals were in a different division like they used to be in the NFC East, if they were in the NFC East or the AFC South or just a different division, I mean, the Cardinals could have some real success and they could really build as a team. Really tough to do against the defenses and the coaching minds that are in the NFC West. So big challenge for the Cardinals as always. It's a tough spot for them to be in. Not going to spend too much time on them, but I do think that they'll be feisty. But are they going to be really that competitive in the NFC West? No, I don't think so. And I don't see any reason to believe so. All right, let's go over to the AFC West. Chiefs, right? This is still the Chiefs division, and it's hard to believe or buy into any reasons as to why that would not be the case. A lot of hype in the Broncos this year. We'll get to that. Vegas Raiders finally get to play with a crowd in Vegas. That it's going to have an effect. Second year for Justin Herbert. He had an absolutely elite year as a rookie for the Chargers. We'll get more into that as well. But this is still Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs division. And they did a fantastic job in the offseason bulking up that offensive line. 4 new offensive linemen are going to start on that line so that, some of us may be like, oh shit, 4 new offensive linemen? I don't know about that. But among those new offensive linemen, there's a ton of experience. They did draft Oklahoma center Creed Humphrey and Tennessee guard Trey Smith. Humphrey in particular could add immediate value, but I'm not too concerned about that offensive line because of the way that Andy Reid runs the offense and the ability of Patrick Mahomes and all the weapons they have. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire needs to do a little more. I mean, not really his fault, but he does rank near the bottom of the NFL in his production as a pass catcher. So we'll see. But the Chiefs still have to shore up some things on defense. They did draft second-round pick Nick Bolton, should help at linebacker. And there's no reason to believe that the Chiefs aren't going to repeat as the AFC West champs. Arrowhead is going to be rocking this year, so that's only going to make it more difficult for opposing offenses, which could obviously help their defense. So let's move on. Not a lot of mystery to the Chiefs. Good acquisitions in the offseason. But how about the Raiders? How do you say that? The Raiders. I'm not very good at that. The Vegas effect. Let's talk about that. The Vegas effect is obviously a thing for the Golden Knights. I think it could be a thing for the Raiders this year. Fans, pomp and circumstance, fireworks. Who knows what the hell they're going to roll out there in Vegas for the home crowd. But that is a sick stadium. I was there just a week ago, actually, signing up for the Circa Million contest. And it's going to be, you can only imagine how fun that stadium is going to be. If there are younger players, players more, prone to temptation coming into Vegas, that could absolutely have an effect on their play when they face the Raiders. And I kind of like that for the Raiders this year. But that being said, and I've been a defender of John Gruden, right? Did a great job with the Bucs, with the Raiders in the past. Goes on Monday Night Football, seems to just know everything about football, especially quarterback play. But John Gruden Part 2, 19-29 with the Raiders since being signed. That's a 39.6% win rate. I mean, if you compare the numbers, it's unfortunately only getting worse, especially for his defense. In 2017, the 13th best offense, 29th best defense, 6 wins. 2018, 25th best offense, 30th best defense, 4 wins. 2019, 9th offense, so that's good. Seen some improvement there, but 31st in defense, 7 wins. And then last year, mid-tier offense right there. Carr can put up points, but 28th ranked defense and 8 wins. The signings that they made on defense have been troubling. I thought Jonathan Abrams could be a big deal, but it turns out, in addition to his injury concerns, missed more tackles than any other safety in 2020. So I'm not sure. He needs to improve his game tremendously. It can't just be about the big hits. Although the boy can hit, but when he goes for those big hits, he's missing a lot of tackles too. They did add Casey Hayward at cornerback. Drafted TCU safety Trevin Moehrig, who was rated by many as the best at his position. They also signed Quentin Jefferson, defensive lineman. Solomon Thomas returns, 3rd overall pick. ACL tear week 2 of 2020, so that could be a good addition. And they also signed Yannick Ngakoue. I used to know how to say that. You know who I mean. Yannick Ngakoue. No. I'm sorry, Yannick, if I'm just butchering your name. But outside rusher, some of his numbers have been down. Some of his numbers are a little bit inflated as far as how good he still is. But these additions could bolster their defense, and that's the real issue, right? With Darren Waller at tight end, he's unbelievable. Carr can get it done for the most part, although I'm not totally sold on Carr. I know a lot of people sing his praises, but in big moments he likes to choke. But the interesting thing is in 2021, Warren Sharp, at least, projects the easiest level of offenses for the Raiders defense. That could help things tremendously. So the combination of the home field advantage, the easiest level of offenses, remember last year the Raiders beat the Chiefs. That was like, whoa, what the hell's going on here? I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but I think the Raiders and the Chargers are going to have a heated competition for second place. I like the home field for the Raiders. I like some of their defensive additions, although we'll see, TBD on that one. But easiest level of offenses this year, easiest schedule of offenses, that's a good look ahead for the Raiders. Maybe look at some of those home games and look at some of those less apt defenses that come to face them, less apt offenses that come to face them, and could be a good scenario for Gruden to at least get a few more wins this year. All right, how about the Chargers? Go Chargers, go! I just realized I don't do enough Arnold. On here. Go Chargers, go! Anyway, year 2 for Justin Herbert. Absolutely elite passer, cannon of an arm. I'll get to more stats about him in the future, but this is going to be a really, really interesting team to watch in the future. Brandon Staley comes over, could be the difference. So many close games lost in 2019 and 2020, like unbelievably bad how many close games that they lost. Anthony Lynn was just so bad in those late game situations. But the good news is last year, the Chargers were extremely inefficient on those early downs, but they still had so many halftime leads. And why did that happen? Because of uncanny efficiency from Justin Herbert. On third downs in the first half, Justin Herbert delivered an efficiency rating ranked first in the NFL. So he was put into a lot of tough third down situations and still converted. Exactly half of his third down passes converted first downs, which ranked first among all quarterbacks as a rookie, under pressure. When you have a third and long, you're going to get pressure, right? Teams know what you're about to do. You're going to pass the ball. Still succeeded. First place. You can't say enough about a rookie quarterback when you put him out there in pressure situations on third down, and he's still doing that. With Brandon Staley coming in, his effect on defense, clearly he was elite coaching the Rams on defense. He'll be more dynamic, hopefully more options, better schemes for their defense. They did lose Casey Hayward and Melvin Ingram and Denzel Perryman on defense. But for what they lost on defense, they gained on offense. Their offseason included an overhaul of an offensive line that finished 29th in adjusted line yards and 28th in PFF's pass blocking efficiency last season. They drafted left tackle Rashawn Slater in the first round and signed PFF's top-graded center in Corey Lindsey, as well as PFF's 23rd best pass blocking guard in Matt Feller. And they're favored in 11 games this year. So the books, the sharps, people like the Chargers. Should they be favored in 11 out of 17 games? I don't know. But there's a lot of hope there now with Brandon Staley. Hopefully can change that defense. And Justin Herbert, I like the kid. He's humble, great hair. I wish I had that hair. Although he cut it. Why did he cut it? I don't know. But this is going to be an interesting team. Like I said, I think that they'll compete with the Raiders for second. And if I was a betting man, I am a betting man. I think the Chargers have a good shot at a wild card spot in the playoffs. Could be a dangerous team, and I do think that they will eclipse the Raiders for that second spot. Last but not least, the Denver Broncos. A lot of hype on this team. I don't really buy it. Although I will say they still have a ton of depth on defense. Not looking forward to that Week 1 game where they face the Giants. Of course, it's at the New Meadowlands. But Von Miller is back. Shelby Harris had really high grades last year on that interior line. Kyle Fuller at cornerback. Ronald Darby added. Bradley Chubb is still awesome. So that defense is going to be, I think it's going to be a top 5 defense this year for sure. They're going to come back with a ferocity. I really like them. But the problem, as always, for the Broncos, not as always, but lately, since Peyton Manning left, is their quarterback. Drew Lock ain't it. I'm pretty bullish on that. Look deeply into Drew Lock's stats, the data that's out on him, and he's among one of the worst quarterbacks in just a ton of categories. Under pressure, or accuracy, third down situations. He's not good. He's not up to par for an offense in the NFL. And I know they have Teddy Bridgewater there, but I do think that Teddy is a system quarterback. I guess that's kind of obvious. But Teddy succeeded somewhat in New Orleans because of Sean Payton, in my opinion. That being said, he's still a great ATS cover, right? He will put himself on the line at the end of games, so that's something to note. If Teddy's in there with that defense, and something to also note, I mean, Mile High in the beginning of the season at that elevation when they're at home with that defense, especially if Teddy's playing, I think that's a great ATS team. It's a great ATS team to look for. I don't know what's going on outside my house. Sounds like some kind of explosion. But anyway, but I don't know if the Broncos can even get close to the Chargers in this division because of their quarterback situation. The quarterback, the other teams in the AFC West are good enough on defense to match up with the Broncos, and they're considerably better on offense. The Broncos have weapons for sure. Noah Fant, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, solid duo, but woo! And it's going to be predicated on their defense this year, and I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Patrick Surtain II is apparently turning heads in training camp. It seems like an elite talent from what everybody is saying, but that is a crowded secondary, which I guess that's a good problem to have if you're the Broncos. I like the addition of Javonte Williams. I think he's going to fit great into that offensive scheme. Downhill runner, good for the power running game. So, the Broncos are built beautifully in a lot of different areas. Offensive line's okay, but in a lot of different areas, they're built really well. Quarterback is pretty important. And if Aaron Rodgers would have went to the Broncos, scary. If they would have drafted a top quarterback, found a way to do that, maybe scary. If they can do that next year, maybe scary. But this year, because of the quarterback situation, I still can't take them seriously. Okay, my friends, my fellow gamblers, we have gone way over. I say 30 minutes. I should stop saying that maybe. We're at 48 minutes right now as far as I can time it, but that's okay. We're excited. It's the NFL, baby. The NFL is back. Next week, I'm going to do 2 more divisions in the NFL. That will be a shorter podcast for sure because I won't have that hot take segment. And Steve Norman is coming up soon as well. Look out for him. Circa Million around the corner. NFL around the corner. Let's go, LFG. Until next time, at the Oddsbreakers, check us out. Follow our articles. Follow the podcast. And get amped because the NFL is around the corner, baby.